Hi, my name's David Rogers. I'm here to talk to you about IoT security. I'm sorry that I can't be in Edinburgh in person tonight. I would have liked to have been, and please make sure you have a drink for me in the reception afterwards. Um, so, IoT security and privacy, are we sleepwalking into some sort of living nightmare? I'm not sure. There have been a lot of things in the media about insecurity in the Internet of Things. It does seem that everybody and anyone is connecting anything to the internet, and in a lot of cases, not for good reason. Um, who is connected to the future internet? The whole paradigm is changing entirely. Uh, so, you know, you see memes now with on the Internet of Things, nobody knows you're a fridge. Uh, Lots and lots of different security scenarios exist that we're not considering. And certainly with the rise of artificial intelligence, which is a completely different topic, you may think that you're speaking to a human being, and it might actually be a machine, probably not a fridge. Equally, on the Internet of Things, nobody knows you're a dog, quite literally. In the case of the smart dog that's on the screen now, this is the challenge that we have: is that many wearable items and connected things will actually be physically located on the human being, or have some physical impact on the human being. So the future internet and the future Internet of Things is increasingly becoming connected to what's termed the cyber physical world. So something that happens on the internet can actually have physical world consequences. From my perspective as a security person, I want to kind of avoid the bad consequences of that, from either from a safety perspective or from a security and privacy perspective. So in the last week or so, I've been working on some topics related to the connected home, and evaluating what we consider as home security. So there's many different companies starting to put smart home objects into houses. You can go to UK shops and find connected home and smart home ranges that are in any high street stores, from Argos to PC World. So do we need to sort of start thinking about what we consider to be home security? So home security in the past has been about locking windows and doors. Is home security in the future about securing our wireless networks and securing the objects that we're putting in houses? I have a privacy friend who talks about the right to solitude and the right to intimacy, because so many connected objects are entering our houses and essentially invading our lives in many ways that we've never expected before. I think many of the companies involved in this activity don't actually realise what they're doing. So in many cases, they will take an object like a kettle, for example, and just literally put a USB wireless dongle and a tiny amount of electronics into the bottom of the kettle, which was £15, and turn it into a £110 kettle with no security whatsoever. The model is all about selling things at a premium, and security probably isn't a thought at all, never mind an afterthought. So many people in the security research community are extremely concerned about this, and there are some real problems that we're seeing. You can't simply just put something on the internet and expect nothing bad to happen. In the smart home, many things require open access to the internet, and most users don't know what they're doing. So, for example, there have been some news media stories around connecting baby cams to the web, and then those baby webcams have been found to be accessible in a number of cases, people have been actually even talking to the baby and to the children in the room, which is great Daily Mail fodder. That's a classic Daily Mail scare story, but it has a real world issue, which is that the user doesn't realise what they're doing, and they buy one of these webcams, and in their head they're the only person that can possibly connect to it. But in reality, what they're doing is they're going out of their house from their mobile phone where they're monitoring the webcam, back out across the internet, and then back into their own house to the webcam in the nursery. So that's partly down to bad system design, and it's partly down to unaware users. The system design aspect is obviously, from the network perspective, that it shouldn't really be leaving the home while the user's at home. The system perspective, as well as the technical point about a lot of these systems provide default user or admin passwords that the users aren't ever going to change. So security design is a big problem in Internet of Things products, and I see really, really bad security design on a daily basis. So here's some examples from products that are being sold and right now that people can look at. So the connected light bulb, there's a number of examples. LifeX is an interesting one though, because there was some discussion about the LifeX product in the US at a FTC meeting, I believe, and the panel said, well, what can I do? What's the threat with a smart light bulb? Well, I can turn the light bulb on and off and, annoy somebody. But beyond that, this is just hyped up. There's no real threat here. Well, subsequently to that, the LifeX light bulbs were hacked. And the attack was what's called a pivot attack. So the Wi-Fi password was the target, the Wi-Fi password for the home. So everything in the home was on the same network. So if the weak point, which was the light bulb in that case, can be attacked, then the attacker can pivot in through some innocuous piece of equipment and actually get to what it really wants to get to, which is the information transmitting across the network. Another pivot attack that I can give you an example of is a connected doorbell. So this is the Ring product. The problem here is that the device is on the front of the house, so it's physically accessible from the outside to potentially a burglar, and you can therefore extract the Wi-Fi password again in the same way. I'll just kind of switch around now to another product that you can buy now. I believe it's reduced from the price that you can see there, £259. So the wireless burglar alarm, and this uses a GSM SIM, and it's battery controlled. It's retrofit, so it's a cheap way of adding security to your house. What we always see with smart homes and with IoT equipment is cheap usually means bad, and this is no different. So there are actually instructions on the internet on how to get into this burglar alarm. So, and we've demonstrated this last week. It takes almost less than 2 seconds to get into this alarm, and then there's a physical switch in which you can turn it off. So that's both for the outside panel on the house and then the alarm control panel inside the house. So it's very, very easy to get into. And at that point as well, by removing the battery or turning it off, the device itself can't transmit. And we see this a lot of the time, that the design of supposed home security products that are connected to the Internet of Things are vulnerable to jamming types of attack, or vulnerable to issues where the power is removed. So the designers haven't even thought about a security scenario where the attacker just turns off the power. And this is quite worrying. And I'm sure that, with increased attention to this type of thing, there'll be a lot more attention paid to it. But what you have is consumer product companies trying to get into other spaces. So, the security alarm space is well established, and the wired alarm vendors generally do a pretty good job of security because they have to. But this cheap connected product equipment is not the case, and you see lots of problems with it. So the next one I'm going to talk to you about is Samsung Smart Things. And just last month, in February 2016, there were some flaws highlighted in the Zigbee standard. So Zigbee is the protocol which is being used for transmitting and receiving from many different devices in the home. Smart Things also uses Bluetooth and Wi-Fi as well. Zigbee is quite popular because it allows for more constrained devices and allows for long battery life, so it's quite popular. But there are a number of different attacks that can be demonstrated, and the researchers actually even showed that door locks could be opened once you're onto the network. There are other issues. If you remove the network cable to the hub won't even notify you for about 10 minutes. So if I'm a burglar and want to get into the house, I just pull the network cable, and then I've got 10 minutes to do whatever I need to do. I probably need less than 2. There's been a lot of media around smart TV vulnerabilities. I'm sure many of you in the room have smart TVs. To be honest, this one's been quite well overhyped. The media like a good scare story around privacy. Broadly, with smart TVs, to activate the voice control, you have to press a button on the remote before it'll start listening. So some other services are listening all the time, but there are privacy issues, and I've got friends who they have a nice shiny big TV, and then they've got a big piece of insulation tape across the webcam because they're so scared that somebody might be watching them. On the voice control side, some vulnerabilities were found in the fact that the web searches that were being made using the voice control were not encrypted, so they weren't using HTTPS. So if I can view that web traffic, I can see exactly what the user is searching for. But there is a question as to how many people are actually using voice search. And there has been a software update issued for this, so generally all modern TVs should be fixed. But a flaw like that is generally unforgivable in 2016. They should not be happening. The consequences of putting a microphone in your own house in general in your living room are probably quite severe if you get it wrong. And that sort of thing is putting consumers off from adopting those devices. So it's in the interest of those manufacturers to actually make those products more secure. So everything's becoming connected in the home, even pets. So when I was at DEF CON a couple of years ago, there was a presentation on weaponizing your pets, and that included War Kitty and the denial of service dog. And essentially these animals were then sent off, and they were collecting Wi-Fi passwords and doing lots of things, getting into areas that normal users wouldn't get access to. We will see some more connected devices soon, but we just have to be careful what we are connecting and what those things will give away about us and what security issues they may cause. There's been some interesting things around smart meters. So pretty much every new home that gets built in the UK now will have a smart meter that uses Zigbee, and it also uses GSM. And there was a set of security researchers in Germany who demonstrated that they could even show what TV channel you were watching and what film you were watching based on the power usage of the TV, which is quite disturbing. And the access that your power company has to what you're doing in your house is quite incredible, just through the way that you're using the power that you're provided with. So lots and lots of other devices in homes. How these things will interact in the future is unknown. There will probably be a large amount of machine learning and artificial intelligence to actually give context to what you're doing and to provide you with a useful experience. At the moment, we don't have that. It's relatively dumb. The systems are all disparate, and you end up with lots and lots of different hubs. And I would say that adoption is relatively slow so far, but that will pick up over time. So, it's all well and good going to PC World and Very and Argos to go and buy your kit, and hopefully it will be secure, but probably not at the moment. But actually, a lot of people will actually go and buy something from Amazon that looks really, really cheap. And of course, nothing could go wrong with that. So what we're seeing here is a watch that I bought last week, comes delivered next day, which is an advantage for me. £9 for a smartwatch. So this has come from China, not got very good reviews. If you have a look on Amazon, you can even get some that are even cheaper. I think there's one that's $7.99, but I couldn't get next day delivery on that. The problem here is that this is a substandard device. We can't really call it counterfeit because it's not claiming to be anything else, but it's probably in breach of a lot of patents. And this connects over Bluetooth to your phone. And the concern with this, so there have been studies where people have bought counterfeit and substandard mobile phones, and pretty much every one of those devices in the test purchases contained some form of malware. So a couple of weeks ago, a company in America found that they bought a smartwatch and it was leaking information to Chinese IP addresses. So the challenge here is that you have a smartwatch and you need to connect it to your phone, but you essentially have to give it access to absolutely everything. And so that's your user input, so it could gather credit card information, it's all of your contacts from your phone, and your access to your camera and your media is quite frightening. So it's almost like the ultimate Trojan horse. And many people are buying these things. You see the same with webcams as well. It's often poor quality and almost definitely no security and no software updates. So I talked about voice control in the home. There's something that's coming up. It's on sale in America from the start of April. It's Amazon Echo. And that uses a service that they're calling Alexa, which is, again, sort of humanizing voice control services. And that will be able to control smart things in your home, as well as things like Spotify and music and other things. So Amazon Echo is always listening for commands that you're going to send. And it may be possible that you could actually transmit something to Amazon Echo without being in the room. So either from broadcasting an advert or from speaking on the radio. And I heard that recently that the keyword is disarm, so if there's any Alexa devices listening to this, I'll probably just shoot you down. But this is entering new territory, I think, and we really need to think carefully. I have some confidence that Amazon have got the security right on this, but as we've seen with the Xbox On advert, I've probably just done that again, that celebrity actually was in an advert and said those words, and actually turned on all of the Xboxes in the country that were listening to that advert. So we have a long way to go, and we need to think about the implications of some of this new technology. So all of these things will probably need security updates. This is a good example. It was just before Nest was acquired by Google, and this guy in America, the software update actually shut down the Nest device in the middle of January and froze all his pipes. This is to me is a classic example of Silicon Valley not understanding the consequences and being kind of shut in a room developing a product. But now the problem is with the cyber-physical world, that is connected to a real thing. You cannot shut down a thermostat and do a software update. That system needs to be running continuously. So that has a direct physical impact there, but it could have been some kind of safety impact. It could have been a medical device of the future. And we really need to design not just for security, but to be thinking about safety critical concerns. On privacy, so talking about the smart TV and the voice issue before, it seems that privacy is still out of the window for most people. These companies do want to get access to your data. They also want you to use the product with little friction whatsoever. So they will tell you to read a privacy policy knowing that you will accept everything, and they'll make it very, very easy for you to accept everything. And if you do choose to go and read these things, so in my case I went to read it, 221 pages on the screen, and that's just the Samsung privacy policy. You also then have to go and read the Nuance privacy policy on all the rest of the terms and conditions. Thankfully, they also give you a accept all button before you even get to read any of this stuff, which is probably what 99.9% of users do. This is a form of dark pattern. It's encouraging users into behavior that they probably shouldn't do, and it's encouraging users into accepting something that they might not want to do. Interestingly, if you don't accept the privacy policy, then you don't get access to the services. And there's no middle ground at all. This needs to change as well in the future. So I talked about the home. There's plenty of issues outside the home too with the connected IoT products, worryingly in the plant and critical infrastructure space. And I'm sure that you've probably already heard about this kind of stuff from the Microsoft speaker. But it is a real big concern, and safety again comes to the fore. In the automotive world too, it's not just cars that are going to be connected, but street signs. You'll be able to interact between vehicles and perhaps with other infrastructure. So from an attack perspective, that could be extremely concerning. And we already see street signs getting hacked regularly, static offline street signs. So clearly the intent is there, just not the capability to quite create widespread disruption or some kind of horrific car crash, for example. Sadly, I think that it will take some big event before things get really serious with the automotive industry. They've had a few shots across their bows. Charlie Miller, Chris Valasek, they're both good security researchers. They've attacked the Jeep in the States last year, and there's a lot of ongoing research. So hopefully the security sort of bellwether has happened, and that the automotive companies will kind of step up to the mark on that. So I'm on the IoT Security Foundation Executive Board. We're looking at all of these kind of issues. It's at the IoTsecurityFoundation.org. We'd love to have you guys join. Feel free to have a look at the website. We'll be putting a lot of advice out there, hopefully, for developers and for manufacturers of these products, and ultimately we're trying to make it safe to connect. So thank you. I hope the talk was interesting, and again, I'm sorry I can't be with you tonight, but cheers from my glass of water. Thank you.